thank you for chatting to us, but congratulations on this brilliant album as well. I've been listening to it all day and it's absolutely fantastic, so congratulations.
Thanks a lot, mate. Thanks. Yeah, I'm really happy with it too.
Now, you brought together such an amazing group of guys in this band. Tell us a little bit about the beginnings of this band and how it all came together for you.
Yeah, I mean, the beginning of this band was when me and Tommy Hart was in a different project. It was actually just a project for Frontiers Records called Kee of Hearts. And that was the first time I met him. And I was actually asked to play the guitar at Tommy Hart's solo album. So that was the way I was invited into the whole thing. And it turns out the label had different ideas, so they gave it a band name. So a lot of people thought that was a band, but it really wasn't. And since that album did really well, me and Tommy wanted to do some more music with this constellation. But I really felt we needed Darby Todd in the mix. Darby played in my solo band for many years, and so did Ken Sandin, the bass player. I mean, Darby played with everybody. The Darkness, Gary Moore, Devin Townsend, and he's such a varied, amazing drummer. In Ken and me, we go way back since 2003. We played constantly together. So I told Tommy, we got to have these guys in the band. And that's when the magic started to happen. We were at the rehearsals in a studio in Gothenburg, rehearsing for a festival we later did a couple of days later. And I said, guys, I have 3 MP3s here. I have some demos you want to hear, because, I mean, we have some time over in the studio. We can perhaps record something. And those songs were Twilight, Lighting Up My Dark, and In a Million Years. So before the day was over, we had 3 backgrounds for 3 brand new songs. And I think there and then was when the band was born, musically at least, when we got to play together and feed each other out and do that. But prior to this, I played with, a couple of months prior to this, I played with my solo band, Kee Marcello band, at the Frontiers Rock Festival in Milano in Italy. And Tommy was there as well. So we had the chance to sit around and being nerds like musicians love. You're talking about influences and where you want to go with your music and all that. So we already started the bond as a group before we went into the studio.
Those 3 tracks that you had written that you ended up recording in the studio then, were those 3 tracks something that you had written for something else, or had you written these tracks in mind with getting all these guys together at that time?
Well, I wrote the tracks. One of the tracks is actually something I had in the pipeline. In a Million Years, I wrote that for Princess in Paradise for Europe, and had an old demo that I discovered in my drawer a couple of days prior to that. But the 2 songs, Twilight and Lighting Up My Dark, were songs for a new project, and I had this in mind. But I hadn't revealed the entirety of my idea to the guys yet. So it was great that we all felt the same way about the material. And after those 3 songs, those were the first 3 songs we finished off, and the songs that our manager was using to shop deals for us. And it was also a perfect start for writing the album. Then we knew exactly which way this whole thing was going to go. And so it was like an automatic piano. Everything was so effortless and simple with this band.
There seems to be a magic when you and Tommy work together. Like you said, we've seen it in your previous project together as well. What do you think it is that sparks that magic between the 2 of you?
It's really hard to know, because I work with a lot of musicians where this is not a fact. I mean, we instantly felt like we had some sort of almost a brotherly love for each other, and we just knew how to complete each other. The first time we played live, Life was still out of this world, but we were still called Key of Hearts. And it was like me and Tommy, we knew exactly how to take turns on stage and when to go together. All that stuff you normally have to rehearse and play many tours before you get it to feel natural with other musicians, because, I mean, obviously, the lead singer and the guitar player, it's a communication between the two of them that are very crucial in the band, especially like a melodic hard rock band. And we just had it instantly. I can't explain it.
Yeah.
It's magic.
One of the things that I really love about this album is that it feels modern, but it also goes back to your roots as well. Was that something that was important to you when you sat down to work on these tracks, to mix the old and the new together so seamlessly?
Absolutely. I mean, my way of writing, and I wrote everything on this album, my way of writing hasn't really changed in essence since 1984, So I'm pretty much writing the same song that I've always done since 1984. There's a different version of it. Obviously, it keeps developing, and the production and stuff is getting modern. But I stuck by my guns, to be quite frank. I never tried to change. I never became grunge or speed metal or black metal, and I would do that horribly anyway. So I'm just trying to do what I do.
Yeah. Now, the album, of course, it came out in Japan, and now you've signed with Atomic Fire. Tell us a little bit about that journey. How did that Japanese journey start, and then how did the relationship with Atomic Fire begin as well?
The thing was, we first agreed on launching a crowdfunding campaign. When you cater directly to your fan base, and they order the products before they're actually manufactured. So that we saw a couple of good examples how that had panned out well in the past. So we wanted to try that as well. But once we start doing that, the word got out, and in Japan, a bidding war started between labels, which in the end, JVC Victor won. Not only because of the better deal they offered us, but also I worked with them in Europe. JVC Victor was Europe's label in Japan, and after that, I did several projects together with JVC Victor for Japan. So it felt like that's our home label, and they did an amazing job. I mean, on the release date, they got us up top 10 on the album charts, and we peaked at number 1. We were number 1 on the charts, on the album charts, for several weeks. So it was a huge success in Japan. And then we obviously now we wanted a release for the rest of the world. And then Nick, our manager, started to talk about the guy from Nuclear Blast is forming a new label where your kind of music would fit perfectly. The only downside was you had to wait until January 2022, and that was like 7 months. But we thought about it and decided this is the way to go. We live in this company, so we're willing to wait for them. And also, the COVID was all over the place. There wasn't much you could do, really.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. Was it difficult for you guys to get together and rehearse or to work on new music again with the way that the pandemic has locked down countries and locked down borders recently?
Oh my God, it was almost impossible. And we were so lucky. We hit the perfect holes in between to get Darby over, because we have the problem, obviously, that the lead singer lives in Berlin, in Germany, and the drummer in London, England. So me and the bass player were both Swedish. We live in Gothenburg. But we managed to fly them in so we could do 2 separate sessions. And it was right on the limit. The second time, if Darby, the drummer, would have been staying for an extra day, he would have been looking at 2 weeks of quarantine in England when he came back, because the travel rules for increasingly getting worse. So we just had perfect timing, and then after that we calmly finished, the overdubs, and obviously we had to do them separately, which a lot of bands do nowadays. I mean, me and Ken in Gothenburg, obviously, but Tommy in Berlin. And then send all the files to America because Ron Levison mixed it.
Wow. It really is an international album. And you also worked with Don Airey as well. Tell us a little bit about Don coming on board and what he was like to work with and why you guys asked him to become involved.
Oh, Don is just amazing. He is a real keyboard player. I've always been a fan of his. And the first time I met him was when we did 2 nights at Hammersmith Odeon in London in 1987 with Europe, obviously. And he came with Neil Murray, who's a good friend of mine, the bass player from Whitesnake. And he brought with him Don Airey. And I was in awe because I was starstruck. Because my favorite band back then was Coliseum 2 with Gary Moore playing the guitar. Have you heard that band?
Yes, I have. Yes.
Yeah. And I was totally into that. So it was great to meet Don Airey. And then years later, we got to play together on this massive all-star festival thing going on Sardinia. It's an island outside Italy, where this crazy billionaire puts up a huge stage, and it's like a big festival, and then he invites all the rockers, So there's people from AC/DC, Whitesnake, with myself from Europe, and we had Michael Schenker, Ken Hensley from Uriah, name it. Everybody was Deep Purple, and we all did like mixed performances together. Amazing.
Wow.
I even fronted Deep Purple, which is like a boy dream come true, you might imagine, Ian Pace, Roger Glover, and Don Airey, and playing Highway Star. I mean, need I say more? It was amazing. But that's when me and Don Airey sort of re-hooked up again and started talking about doing something. We got really well together, so we were always the last ones in the bar. When everybody else went to bed, we would stand by the grand piano and sing Todd Rundgren songs and stuff like that. We're both deeply into Todd Rundgren. So we tried to get it happen a couple of times, but this was the first time we really got the chance to do it. So I sent some songs to him, and he ended up playing on 4 of them. I'm really happy about that. Finally, we got it together. And what a player he is.
It is. It sounds absolutely amazing. His work on the album is stunning. Kee, I know we are running out of time very quickly, but before I go, I wanted to ask, what are the plans now for the band now that the world is opening back up? And also, what would you like to say to people out there before they sit down and take a listen to this stunning album?
Oh, yeah. Well, the plans are obviously to make this dog hunt, to get this show on the road. And we just have to wait to see what the traveling restrictions are going to turn out to be in the near future. A no-brainer would be to start with Japan, since we were quite recently #1 there. And that would lead to... where are you based?
I'm in Australia. I'm in Australia. I'm in Melbourne.
I'm in Melbourne. Anyway, I'm just playing around with ideas here. But if we go on a Japanese tour, which I think we easily could sell well doing, we're in Southeast Asia. It wouldn't be a stretch to go to Oceania after that, would it?
No, just
go to Australia.
I think it's about a 4-hour flight. 4 or 5 hours. Not far at all.
That's nothing.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. So those are some of the immediate plans, and obviously the EU. We want to play all over the place as soon as it opens up. And for anybody who hasn't heard Out of This World, I would like to say that if you feel sorry about the fact that melodic rock more or less disappeared from the charts over the past 20 years, here is your great white hope Out of This World is exactly what it sounds like. It'll blow your mind.